Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Entitled People. We got some more Reddit posts for you today, so be sure to like and subscribe and let's get into it. Mother lets kid crawl over our table and ruin our date. So me and my boyfriend went out for the day. We went for a nice long walk, had ice cream, and then we decided we would go to the nice pub around the corner for some lunch. We got there and it was busy. Loads of kids there. So we got a table around a corner as it was empty. We ordered our food. And all of a sudden, some random kid came around the corner, came over to us, and started trying to climb on me, which I told him no. Then he started crawling under our table and all over our feet. I was like, what the hell? Expecting someone to collect him, which they didn't. I just kept seeing some random woman keep peering around the corner. Anyway, our food came, and this kid got a chair, pulled it to our table, and started trying to put his creepy hands on our plates to grab at our food, and crying when I told him no. He then started shaking the table, knocking my drink over. So I got annoyed and asked the bar who the parent was. Turned out it was the woman who had kept looking around the corner, so she knew he was bothering us. So I went over, told her to get him, and said he was ruining our food, and she needs to buy him some because he's hungry. And she said, I was a selfish bitch for not giving a child food. Her child. How is that my responsibility? Anyway, she came and got him, muttered something under her breath, and walked away. Only for the little horror to return seconds later, trying to climb on us again. I had enough and said I wanted to leave and just go home. As we were leaving, the kid's mother waved to us and said, bye, see you soon. What the hell? We were a young childless couple, trying to enjoy our child-free life. I don't really need someone else's kid ruining my day. What's the point in taking him out if she doesn't want to look after him? My seat is not meant to be your support. For those of you who fly frequently, this may be an all too familiar situation. Now, this usually happens when the person behind you or someone else in their row needs to use the bathroom mid-flight. People have started using the back of my seat as a method to pull themselves up out of their chair, as opposed to using their own armrests. They usually pull the seat back 3 to 4 inches due to their leverage, and let it go once they are standing. If you're the one in the chair in front of them, this provides you with the sudden unpleasant feeling of your chair unexpectedly rocketing back, followed by a quick reversal launching you forward. A real dick move. 95% of the time, the person who does this either does not apologize or is oblivious to their actions. When this happens to me now, I bide my time, waiting for the person's return. Upon their return, but before they sit, I make sure the button that reclines the seat is fully pressed in. The person generally expects the seat is going to provide that same resistance they used to get out of their seat in the first place. Sorry friend, that resistance is gone. Hearing that sweet shocked gasp as they fall hard into their seat has been one of the few pleasures I found in flying. Edit. I see a few of you talking about how you think a disability or injury entitles you to being rude. Let me assure you it does not. A simple apology for an oversight would be sufficient to make me and most people think nothing of this. If apologizing for hassling someone else is beneath you, then we will no longer care about your circumstances. If this still hasn't convinced you, let's assume I'm the one with a bad back or neck injury, made worse by your actions of using my seat back. Does your injury make mine irrelevant? Sounds like OP not only has to deal with the people on the plane, but also the wonderful people of Reddit trying to tell them how horrible they are. But to be fair, it is the minority. Most people in the thread seem to be supportive of OP, and I kind of agree. Sure, if someone's doing this because of a disability or an injury, that's totally fine. I think most people would understand. But the point that OP's making is no one even says anything when they do it, without even seeming to acknowledge or consider the person that they might be bothering. Petty response to a death threat. Once upon a time, I worked with banks that foreclosed on houses. I wasn't the lawyer. I wasn't an employee of the bank. I just kept track of houses and made sure they were clean, secure, had no title or boundary issues, no hazmat, no septic leaks, mold, and whatnot. One aspect of this was to take possession of houses from the former owners, make sure they hadn't been stripped, get power, gas, and water transferred to the banks, and sometimes giving the former owners a check. There were a couple of programs I handled, one of which was a deed, in lieu of foreclosure, in which the banks, through their lawyers, would give the people who couldn't afford their mortgage, often a second or third mortgage involved, a check if they simply walked away and didn't go through the formality of foreclosure. I had nothing to do with the legal aspects. I simply made sure the house hadn't been burned down, fairly common, or abandoned. And at the end, I would inspect to make sure the house hadn't been stripped or vandalized, and hand over the check. While waiting for the handoff, I would drive by once a week to make sure the house was still there, wasn't being rented out on Craigslist, common scam, make sure it wasn't abandoned, not being used as a dumping ground and the like. But I only cared about the house itself, not involved with the people inside. During the process, I would introduce myself, explain why I was taking photos once a week, what to expect, and let them know that when I eventually showed up with cash, I wasn't pulling a scam. It tended to make everything run more smoothly, and avoided calls to 911 from occupants saying some guy keeps taking pictures of my house and driving away. The house in question was a 4-bed, 3-bath, 3-car garage, about 3,500 square feet in a good part of town. They'd probably skipped about 20 grand of mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, and water bills by the time I got involved, and the bank was offering them a check for 15 grand to walk away without going through the foreclosure and eviction, on the condition that they leave the house broom clean with no stolen fixtures or vandalism. One day they came by my office to argue about the situation. I had nothing to do with the actual process, but I was a convenient face. So this mid-40s couple with designer handbags pulled up in their Range Rover and proceeded to waste 20 minutes of my time, telling me it was unfair and they deserve more money. They didn't like being told to take it up with the bank and the attorney, or if they didn't want to go through with it, then I had even less involvement than I already did. I was used to getting a fair bit of abuse, but I didn't take it personally, just chalked it up to the bad situation and let it go. But this lady, wearing too much filler and drawn eyebrows that were so arched they could support a bridge, and lots of gold baubles and a faux fur coat, crossed the line when she shouted as she was leaving, "You had better start looking under your car before you start it." Was I scared? Not even a little. I got much more credible threats every now and then. But was I annoyed? Absolutely. A couple of weeks later I was sent to trade the check for the keys. Smug lady was there, copying an attitude, and being far more rude than anybody else I ran into on these deals. So I do my inspection, checking for broom clean condition, and no damage beyond normal wear and tear. I was generally extremely lenient with my inspections, but after the death threat I wasn't going to cut as much slack. It was mostly okay, but in one of the bathrooms, the toilet paper roll holder, which is legally a fixture, had been ripped off the wall, leaving 2 quarter-size holes in the drywall. That's a stolen fixture, and intentional damage to boot. Sorry, I have to report this to the bank and their lawyer for approval to proceed. So I take several photos, taking my time to get items for scale in the shot, and leave with the check. I already knew the bank would release the money. Far greater damages were allowed to slide in the past, so it wasn't as if I was actually affecting them beyond delaying the check for a few days. But they woke up that day expecting 15 grand and weren't getting it. 3 days later, I was sent back to re-inspect. The holes were now covered with cheap drywall patch, probably a $5 kit from Home Depot. So I hand over the check, take the keys, escort them to the front door, close it behind them, and start drafting my punch list, which includes a standard allowance for drywall repair. Karen parked in my driveway and claimed the house was hers. So I'm a 14-year-old male and my family recently moved into a house in a new estate. This estate had a park that was massive. My house is on the main road of the estate, and its garage is on the other side of the road, and we are close to a park. About 2 months ago, they hosted an opening ceremony for the park. A lot of people came. People from the surrounding areas came as well. Me, my brother, and my parents left our house and walked down to the park. Due to all the traffic, there were people to manage it. Once we get there, we see a car parked in our driveway. My dad is a calm dude usually, but he doesn't like stuff like this. Me and my brother, who is 18 years old, go up to one of the workers and tell him that the car in there wasn't ours, and we don't want it there. The worker tells us he saw the people park there and kind of remember what they look like. We tell him that it would be good if we get the car moved. He says he will try to find her. About 20 minutes later, we see him walking up to the car with a lady and her son, who look to be about 9. She walks up there and we see her starting to get angry. Naturally, we walk up to see what's happening. This is the conversation that happened. Not 100% accurate, it's been a while. "I don't understand why you want me to move my car. I live here," said Karen. "Well, they say that you don't, and I don't see why they would bring this issue here unless it was true," said the worker. "Well, they are clearly lying. I live here," Karen insists. And my brother speaks up and says, Ma'am, please. I live here and I even have keys to the house. Please move your car. Bullcrap. Complete bullcrap. I have lived here for a year and watched this park get built. As a side note, our house was finished 5 months prior to this. And my brother asks, okay then, what 2 cars are inside the garage then? A Volkswagen and a Mazda. Karen responded. Nope, a Volkswagen Jetta and a Hyundai i45. That's not true. I'll open the garage and show you. As she scuffles through her handbag, my brother opens the garage. There's the evidence, my brother said, and then closes the garage. It's not your house, so please leave, said the worker. She gets in the car and leaves while looking very angry. We didn't think to call the cops because nothing major happened, but it was funny to see her lying out of her ass and getting proven wrong. It's really the greatest when people are caught in a lie but can't admit to it, so they just double down and it gets more and more ridiculous as time goes on. Entitled Dad Shocked at Breastfeeding. I was with my little baby with a checkup visit in a children's polyclinic. There is a nursing room with 2 comfy chairs. It's a long narrow room arranged like this. Door, changing table, screen, chair number 1, another screen, chair number 2, and window. I come in. The chair closer to the door is empty. Another one is occupied. I sit down and start nursing. The mom from chair number 2 soon leaves. In comes another woman with a baby and her husband. He enters first, passes the first screen, and sees me mid-process. I am not giving a crap. He turns around without a word, not even checking the second chair, and walks his wife out the door. And as he closes it, I hear him saying loudly, "Did you see that? She didn't even put away her boob." I get it. Supportive husband follows his wife and kid to the doctors and stuff. But did he really enter a nursing room and expected women in here to hide their breasts to not disturb him? Alright guys, that is it for today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to drop a like, I'd really appreciate it. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So I'm out of here. Have an awesome day everyone, and I'll see you next time.